So I was looking through my emails. Boring, boring. And then, what is this? A new piano from the Rhodes Music Group. Tell me more. So apparently you're making a 61 note piano called the Rhodes 61. And I was a bit surprised they've gone this direction. And I guess with the standard model being 73, we're just removing an octave. And the big selling point here is that they've managed to almost half the price of what a Mark 8 reasonably spec piano would be to this new smaller piano. So I thought I'd make a little video to try and see how they've done that and see what we think of it. But to be honest, the extremes of a Rhodes piano, the bass can be a little too bassy and the highs can be a little too sharp up there. So it's not a huge loss to lose those ends. It depends what you play, but I don't think I'll miss them too much. Now, I didn't expect this to be something that people want, but when you think about it a little longer, it does kind of make sense. So there's two common comments that people tend to say about the Mark 8 Rhodes. And the first one is cost, saying it's very high price, and I kind of agree. It's possibly the reason why I don't own one. I don't disagree with the price. I think it's totally worth what they are doing, but it's just more than what my income would allow for. But they do seem to be busy. They do seem to be selling pianos at that price tag, which I think is really good. And if I was a professional musician, then I wouldn't really see it as too big an issue. But for me, it's just a little bit too far of a reach. And then I suppose the next thing is size. So you're going to have to give up quite a bit of studio space for a piano that arguably only makes one sound. Now, I really like that sound. I think it's totally worth it. I give up a couple of piano spaces to have that one sound. But having something that's a little bit more compact might open up the opportunity for more studios to take on a new Rhodes piano. Now, I've tried to move my Fender Rhodes by itself and it's an absolute nightmare. So having something that's a bit lighter, a bit more mobile, that is a big benefit. That makes it a lot easier to actually take on tour and play live as well. When I played in a band, my bandmates would never quite enjoy when I'd say, can I bring this along? Can I bring an organ along? No, that didn't go down well. So yes, they've come up with this new 61 stage model, and this seems to address the problems well. So it's approximately half the price of a well-spec'd Mark 8. So there's a big cost saving. And 61 keys, is that too small? I'm sure you probably may think instinctively yes, but it really isn't. I think nobody complains that a Wurlitz is too small, and that's only got 3 notes more. So there is this limited edition finish, which I really like. So look at this. It's got like a racing stripe, go faster stripe across the top. I like this green colour. It's such a nice styling. So I really like what they've done there. And I quite like what the Rhodes company are doing, where they have these limited runs of different finishes. It makes the piano seem a bit more unique and a bit more desirable, I guess. A while ago I did a video about how Vintage Vibe come up with their new piano design and how they kind of streamlined it so that the piano no longer has a range of colours. And I think Rhodes have done the same. So there isn't any options to go with this. You get the piano as it is. Now, that might seem quite negative, but that allows them to do a lot more things, and that probably is where a lot of the cost saving comes from. They only have to stock one colour of lid. That's going to take up a lot less space. And also, they don't have to individually make each piano for each customer. They could make a batch of, say, 10 pianos, and when an order comes in, they could post it straight off. So you might end up with the potential of actually having a situation where you can buy a Rhodes piano and it arrive the next day or the next couple of days. And I think that might be really quite a good selling point. So one thing I do notice though is that there is no preamp in this piano, which I think is sad. But then if your goal is to try and make the cheapest piano that you can offer on the market, it makes sense. And to be fair, there's nothing wrong with passive controls. They will do what you want it to do. And if you want to make investments down the line for different effects, different pedals, then you're free to do that. I'd be amazed if there wasn't an option later on by Rhodes to put a better preamp in. But I think here the goal is just to get the cheapest piano out there, and That's going to be interesting what it does for the second-hand market, because I see on Reverb, pianos and on eBay, trying to go for sky-high prices. And if you can buy a new piano, brand new tines that have zero fatigue, so that they should last pretty much forever compared to a used rusty Rhodes that someone's just put some new grommets and hammer tips on, it means that those second-hand pianos, those Mach 1s, are really overvalued when you compare it to what you get in here. I haven't really heard in detail this new piano played live, so that's something I want to have a listen to and see what it sounds like. So unless there is a significant sound difference between the two pianos, which I doubt there will be, I can kind of see this not being good for people that invested and bought lots of Mark 1 pianos, because I can only see the price going down. And I think that's really good. I think that's what it needs to do. At the minute, too overvalued, and I want to see more people playing those pianos. I want to see more on stage, more played live. And as part of what I want to do with my YouTube channel is show off and say, look, this is a great piano right here. It can make as much noise as you're willing to invest the time in. And it really should be on a lot more stages. I'm looking at the style in this new piano, and it does kind of remind me of like a Mach 5 piano with that line across it. So we've got no lid, but once more, to get the cost low as possible, I think they've just cut everything back, and I really like that. So if we look at the actual case, it looks like a solid ABS, I'm going to guess, shell that takes up most of the top of the case. This looks like a really rugged design. Hopefully it's quite thick so it can take some abuse, especially like being toured and gigged. There is some audio demos on the Rhodes site. I'm not going to play them just for copyright reasons, but I'll put a link in the description to point you towards that direction. So reading the website, it seems the keyboard is the same as what's in the Mach 8, but just a shorter keyboard. So on the action, it doesn't appear to be any shortcuts there, and it's a really basic action anyway, so you wouldn't be able to miss any components out and it still function really. But that's really good. So if you think about it, a Mach 8's got 6 octaves, and we lose one of them, so that's 5, 6, and you're getting it for half the price. It seems a really good deal. Okay, we've got a specifications sheet here, and this shows we've got 2 models, the standard and the launch edition. So looking through the spec, it looks to be pretty much what's the same as the Mach 8. I always like it where they state something's aerospace aluminium. Okay, so that's one deal I wasn't expecting. There's an option of a stand. I'm kind of surprised they've included that. And we've got a weight of 26 kilos, which is still quite heavy when you think about it, but it's a lot nicer than this suitcase. But yeah, I think it's a really good idea from the Rhodes company to come up with this. I think it addresses a lot of the complaints. I would like to see them go further. I want to see if they doubled the value of the piano, what would it look like? I want to see them explore different voicings, and over the years the Rhodes piano evolved. I think there's lots of interesting avenues it can go, so I'm kind of excited to see what comes next. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think of this piano. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I think.